Hey Leo, how's it going? Let's see, where did I put it? Okay. Today I'm going to be reviewing the book called Smile by Raina Telgemeier. This book came out in 2010 when I was 17 and I was really obsessed with tater tots from Sonic. This book right here, a good age range for people to read this book. Ages 10 to probably about 15. There's a couple things in this book that are, middle school appropriate, but maybe not necessarily like elementary school appropriate. So 10 to 15. As you can tell, my copy has seen some better days. It's got a little bit of water damage here. It's got some tears. One of my kids left a Chex Mix bookmark. Sponsored by Chex Mix. Get us a producer! This book came out a long time ago, it feels like. 2010 doesn't seem like a long time ago. My kids are obsessed with this book. They love this book. And I wanted to find out why. So here we go. Deep dive. So basically the outline of this story is this girl has an accident. She loses her two front teeth, kind of. And it's kind of how it affects her as she's growing up, right? And so we kind of see how she reacts to different situations because she might not have as much self-confidence as she once had before she lost her teeth. So, fun fact time. When I was 3, me and my dad were playing football in the house, and I decided to go for a sweet catch. And I tripped and I landed on the coffee table, and my two front teeth went up inside of my gums. So, I already had a buy-in to this story because I went through that traumatic experience, but I didn't do it in middle school. So, it's good to learn from. When I'm reviewing graphic novels as opposed to a normal novel, which is text, there's a few different categories you have to review them by. So there is, you need to review the plot, you need to review the characters, you need to review the setting, and then the last thing that I usually review these books on is their artwork as you go through. Because this is a graphic novel, it's very important to judge it based off of the main thing that it's selling you on, which is the artwork, right? I Chex Mix. We're going to start with characters. Now, Raina is the main character of this story, and she's based off of the author, Raina Telgemeier. So, I see what you did there. You can't get one past me. I'm too good. But it's a story based off of her real life? It says a true story. Okay. True story about her teeth. So, Raina as a character, as the main character, she's super funny. She's got really good expression on her face. Like she intentionally draws all these different crazy expressions on her face to kind of bring the character out. She has great dialogue. She has good things to say all the time. She grows as a character. She really owns the fact that she is the main character. It's her story. And it helps that it shows a middle school story because in middle school stories, the world revolves around them most of the time. So that's fun. But she's a good character. Other characters in the story. We have Raina's mom. Raina's mom does a lot of mom stuff in this story. And that's about it. Like, she just does mom stuff. She just moms her, drives her around, and is a mom. That's as exciting as it gets. Another character in this story is Amara. It's her little sister, who I think is super funny. And if you've ever read the sequel, I think is great. But without the context of that sequel, if you're a reader, you might be confused. She doesn't have a lot to do with this story. She makes fun of her in the beginning, and that's about all Amara does. America. Thank you very much. She has a little brother, I think. His name was something. I don't know. I could look at the book. I'm not. The little brother's name is Will. He has zero to do with the story, too. So he's just there. He's just a filler character. You got Raina's dad, who does a lot of dad stuff. He got a couple dad jokes in there. But that's it. It's really all he does. He doesn't do a whole lot else. He's just a dad, just doing dad stuff. On to the juicy details, the hot goss, the tea, if you will. We have a love interest number one, who is, as I would dub, Sammy Sweater Vest. Now, he plays the flute. He's in 6th grade. Sparks are flying. Okay? Raina latches onto him, so he gets a little bit more development than any of the other characters in this book. And you feel the most sorry for him in this book because she is so mean to him. He is captain of, I'm not going to talk to you anymore because I liked you for 10 seconds and now it's over. Because I liked love interest number 2, Sean. Now, Sean's a basketball player. We got to love our sports guys. We got to love those sports guys. He doesn't talk to her the whole story, which is actually like hopelessly funny because she's just pining after this dude that doesn't even know she exists really. And I wonder why the author decided to write him in there, because if he's like a real person, because this is based off a true story, like if he's reading this as an adult, he's probably going to be really weirded out by it. So Sean, if you're watching and you know who you are, give that girl a chance. I think she's married now. I don't know. Who cares? Moving on. The last part of the character group is this group of friends that follows Raina around, and they're just awful people. They're the worst. They literally make fun of her constantly. And they don't have any redeeming qualities about themselves. I don't even remember their names because they're so bland and stereotypical that it just doesn't make sense to give them a lot of time. An issue I had with their characters is, I mean, they like made fun of her to show that they appreciated her, I think. But they did it in a really, really funny way. Like the pages where they were insulting her, I thought they were funny. I don't know if that was the intention, but I thought they were super funny. She gets pantsed. I laughed out loud. They like dress her up like 80s style to make fun of her, and she takes like super offense to it. But it was just funny. Like it wasn't even at school. It was like at a sleepover. Like just get a thicker skin, Raina. Like it's fine. Just deal with it. All the characters in this story, besides Raina, are just meh. They're okay. No one really cares. So the plot. The unique part about this book in particular is that it takes its time by building up 2 different parallel stories. So there's the story of Raina's teeth, and as they grow and get better and they look better, her as a character at the same time is growing as well. So in the beginning, when her teeth get shattered and they get broken, she becomes insecure and she feels bad about herself. And that's kind of a theme throughout the whole book, but as her teeth get better, she kind of grows as a person, and it's a really unique perspective to see your whole story driven by like the process of a teeth, because this story takes place over like the course of 5 years, and it's hard to give a lot of detail in 5 years because it's a long period of time. But since as the audience we see the teeth getting better and better over time, we understand it more. We feel better about it. So I loved how this story was framed. I thought the pacing was pretty weird in parts, just because it felt like a lot of different stories that were disconnected. There were short stories that were pretty disconnected, but then I read in the back of the book, it kind of explains that this was a web comic beforehand. And that makes sense because comics in general were weekly usually. And so your weekly stories can't take place right after each other. You got to assume a decent amount of time has passed. So the way that this story is paced, it feels a lot like a comic, which makes sense now. So there's one scene in this book that made me laugh so much because I'm a teacher, and I related to it quite a bit because I thought it was so funny. So there's a scene where Raina is passing notes with generic friend number 2 that no one cares about. Her teacher sees her passing the notes, and she's writing a note about Sean, love interest number 2. And so he grabs the note, and she's like mortified, and he gets up in front of the class, like pauses for 2 seconds, and then reads, "Who's Sean?" Which is how I interpreted how he said it. And the whole class loses their minds. They start laughing because it's super funny. And Raina's mortified. And the funny thing is I've done that to kids in my class before. And I would only do it to the kids who could handle it. who on the inside are probably okay, so they're like a thick skin, so they'd be okay. But he decided to do it to this girl who is like super fragile, and she loses it. She's like, she just thinks that everyone's looking at her, and that now Sean's gonna find out that she likes him, when it's pretty apparent that she likes him, because he doesn't know she exists, but I bet he knows that she likes him. But that was easily the best scene in the book, because I'm a teacher and I've done that before. So sorry to any of you out there that have done that too. The nice part about this book, and the really cool thing that it does, is that it really establishes what it's like to be a middle schooler, and how all over the place you are when you're 12 or 13 years old. You're just, nobody knows what's going on, and things are happening all the time, right? No one's got a plan. So your emotions are here, they're here, they're here, they're here, they're here, they're here, they're here. And that makes for really funny material, because everyone can relate to being a middle schooler, because pretty much all of us were middle schoolers. And so we understand how weird it is to be that age. So this story does a great job of capturing that feeling that you're a middle schooler. And Raina's emotions, like, very wildly, she's all over the place, but that's on purpose, because when middle school isn't just all over the place. Who's got it together? Nobody. Nobody does. Not even the teachers. Let's be honest. The story had some really funny moments, but it was kind of bogged down by the fact that we visited the dentist for like a third of the book. And so the story just takes like a standstill. Like, it stops immediately when she goes to the dentist. And it's so boring. Like, I get that it's based on a true story, but do we really need to throw in that many dentist scenes? Like, we get that your teeth are getting fixed, but I want to spend more time with, like, the other characters of the story, or like your mom and your dad, or literally anybody but the dentist, because I hate the dentist. Everyone hates the dentist. So that's a nitpick, but yeah, it's just a nitpick. Setting. The setting is in San Francisco, and the first thing you notice about the book when you open it up is there's an establishing shot of the city. And a lot of the times what movies do is they have an establishing shot to let you know where your characters are going, what's taking place. And Raina Telgemeier does a great job of establishing that it's in San Francisco, and she makes it feel like it's alive and it feels real. And it feels like the characters are real in the setting. The artwork itself for those scenes are just gorgeous. They look amazing. They're just fun to look at. You can sit there for 5 minutes at a time and just stare at these pages, because they're full page. It's like a full page. It forces you to stop reading and take a minute to just enjoy what it looks like. And it looks great. My favorite part of the setting is that every time that Raina has to go to the dentist, they take the same exit on the highway. And she just like grumbles about it. And like, as a reader, I did the same exact thing, because like, we have to go to the dentist again? Can't we just stay in the context of the story and just leave all that other stuff to the side? But no, we have to get the scene with her mom and her at the dentist. That reminds me so much of when I had to go places with my mom, that when you're little, you don't have a choice. You can't bring your video games. Well, at least I couldn't. And you can't bring anything interesting to do. So I just had to tag along with my mom to American Furniture Warehouse, and we looked at furniture for 3 hours, and I would lose my mind. And then my mom would pick out one ottoman, and it's like, this one's fun to sit on, and it drove me insane. So I will never walk into an American Furniture Warehouse again as an adult. It's never going to happen. Look at me, Mom. Promise me. And the nice thing about this setting is that it just feels real. Like, it doesn't feel like a fantasy story. It doesn't feel sci-fi. It doesn't feel anything but realistic fiction, because it is based on a true story, and that really helps because of the setting. Because it takes place in San Francisco, there's a lot of great colors. There's a lot of great buildings. There's a lot of things to look at. And so it's not just Kansas. It looks cool. And so you're engaged in the setting because it looks great, especially since it's a graphic novel. Art. So the art in this story is what makes this book great, and not just good. Because the way that it's illustrated keeps you engaged throughout the story. It makes you feel what the characters are feeling. It makes you want to know what's going to happen next. The art itself is phenomenal. And shout out to Stephanie Yu, and she colored this book. And so there's a lot of scenes where the color is very important to everything that's happening as well. So the art itself is just phenomenal, but the color coming in here makes it look amazing. And it really elevates the book to another level that some graphic novels fall short in that if you have a graphic novel, you're telling your story visually rather than just by having someone read your book. So it's very important that you nail the visuals, and Raina did. Raina did a great job. And this is a book from 2010 when graphic novels weren't as popular as they are today. They just weren't. Because I don't remember reading a graphic novel as a 17-year-old in 2010, but I still would have appreciated this book if I had read it. Here's a list of everything that I liked about the artwork. Number 1, every emotion on Raina's face. Number 2, the color palette. Number 3, the dark scenes set at night look gorgeous. They look beautiful. I feel like it'd be hard to draw something that, I'm not an artist by any means, but I feel like it'd be really hard to draw something at night in a graphic novel. It just feels like it'd be a tough job because the shading has to be all different. But it looks great. I don't remember which one I'm on. I think it's 4? Number 4. Any weird daydream that Raina has in this book, it's super cringy, and I love it. Every second of it. It's hilarious. There's one where she's in an earthquake getting saved by Sammy Sweater Vest, and it's just so cringeworthy. But it's great. It's still funny. I don't know. Number 5. When the story jumps back in time, I thought that was a real... Because I know that the sequel to this book uses that framing a lot, but it jumps back in time for one scene, and the pages changed color, and they changed to yellow, and it really feels like you jumped back in time as a reader, and I thought that was really cool. It didn't take me out of the story at all, but it made me more engaged to go in and be like, hey, I guess she's young now, and she lost one of her teeth earlier on, so that was a little bit of foreshadowing in the past. I guess it wasn't foreshadowing because it happened after. Anyways, really cool to go back in time and to see how they did it artistically was awesome. I've got a nitpick. I've got one nitpick. There's 2 characters in this book. No, let me back up. So everyone in this book has anime eyes, which are like ginormous. Or they have little dots for eyes, which is like an artistic choice, and that makes sense. It's probably hard to draw eyes in every scene. But then there's 2 characters in this book that have human eyes, and it's really, really jarring to be a reader and come across something that's different. And so it just looks really out of place. There's one in the beginning of the book with this blonde girl who we never hear from again, doesn't say a word in the book, but has different eyes. And I was like, is that a main character? Are you a main character? Why are your eyes different? Because in anime, that's what they do. They make your eyes weird, so we know you're a main character. Or the other person in this book that has weird eyes is Sammy Sweater Vest. And it made him feel like he was going to be way more of an important character because he had different eyes than anybody else. And he ended up just being like this kid in the corner that Raina was like, you just stay over there and I'm not going to talk to you. I don't want nothing to do with you, even though you have gorgeous eyes. Oh, man. Final thoughts. So I got a lot out of this book. As a reader, it made me feel, some emotions. It made me laugh a lot. So I giggled. This book is funny. And it plays off the fact that we can all relate to it. And that's what makes it funny. And that's why kids like it so much. And I can understand why kids like it. Even though I'm a 26-year-old dude, I got some enjoyment out of this book because it's for everybody. I don't think it's for anybody under the age of 10. Most of the characters are flat. And they're not interesting. And they're dumb. And we don't care about them. But that's fine. Because the art style in this book is so good that a lot of those things just fall by the wayside. Those things just turn into nitpicks for me. Because visually, as I'm reading this book, I don't get bored. Everything I can look at and see is interesting and it's exciting and it's good. I'm going to give this book a 4 out of 5. Based off of that. If you're a fan of graphic novels, this is a must-buy. And now you don't have to buy it brand new. It's been out for a long time. I got mine at ARC. That's a thrift store. I usually buy books brand new, but as a teacher, you have to find ways to get cheaper books just because things get expensive if you buy new books all the time. So I did buy a new copy of this, and then I found one at ARC for like $3. And I bet you could find a used one on Amazon for a decent price. But this is definitely worth a buy because it's a fun reread. It's not something that you can read once and put down. It's something you can go back to and read again. And that's what a lot of my students did, is they would read this book like 17 million times, which is awesome, right? If a book ever makes you want to go back and read it again, I think that's a beautiful thing. If you could, follow me on Goodreads. I'll put my name right here. My name's going to go right there. Follow me on Goodreads. For the written portion of this review, that's where I throw all my written stuff, is on Goodreads. So start there. I usually read the first few pages of a book as like a sample to get you guys interested in the book. But the first couple pages, there's a lot of blood. And so I don't know if I should do that. I'm just going to read you 2 pages that I really liked.
Haha, you look like a little kid again. And I only just got my permanent front teeth about a year ago. But you just lost yours. Amara! Stop. Come on, girls. We're going to Toys R Us. Raina gets to choose a get well present. Hey! Soon. Aw, come on. You don't really want to get stupid Wizards and Warriors, do you? How about DuckTales? What if we get California games, huh? Beep. Cool. Check it out. The Boots of Lava Walk. Can I play? No. Mom, why is Raina acting like such a jerk lately? She's in pain, Amara. If playing Nintendo nonstop makes her forget about her teeth, I kind of think we should let her play. She has a lot more pain to look forward to, so try and go easy on her, okay? And jerk isn't a very nice word.